Cue thought-provoking quote. The ability to question is something unique to humans. No other animals have ever been observed to have the capacity to ask questions. We've taught apes to use sign language. Through this, they were able to ask questions and convey elaborate thoughts, but they've never asked a question. Supposedly, a gray parrot named Alex, which stands for Avian Language Experiment, uttered the question, "What color?" while looking at himself in the mirror. However, many scientists are skeptical whether this is a true question by a self-aware animal or just a product of a memorization technique. All this aside, we as humans have the ability to question things, people, ourselves, and even our own reasons for existence. It'd be wrong not to take advantage of this skill. I believe if you can master asking questions, then nothing is out of reach. Implementation of this philosophy is simple. Take a moment and ask yourself what bothers you in life. A great opportunity to do this is while you're bored. If you've never been bored, you should watch my last video and start being bored. Depending on how long your question is will determine how long you have to play the why game. First, we need a problem. Let's take Average Joe. He says, "I hate having no free time." To start the why game, you simply ask why. Why do I want free time? By asking this question, you determine what your fundamental goal is, your final destination. Once this is determined, you can continue asking questions necessary to accomplish your goal. Questions like, how much time does my goal require in a day? Once this is determined, you can start asking questions like, why don't I have any free time? This can be determined in a multitude of ways. Some may say school, homework, sports, or a job. But at the end of the day, if Average Joe truly wants to accomplish these goals, then these answers are irrelevant. You have 24 hours in a day. 8 are used up sleeping. If you're a student, then you go to class for 5 hours. If you work a full-time job, that's another 8. That leaves you with 3 hours. So you ask yourself, what am I doing with those 3 hours?
What are you doing with those other 5 hours? You're watching House of Cards. You're playing Madden. You're relaxing.
Are those things more important than what my goal is? If the answer is no, then congratulations, you've won the why game. You've successfully implemented your skill as a human to question something that bothers you until you've solved it. Like everything, the more you do it, the better you get at it. Question everything. If you yourself can't answer the questions that you pose, then ask yourself, who would be able to answer this? And find them. If you can't determine who would know it, then ask the all-powerful internet. The world's knowledge is one search away. One may ask, but what happens if I never ask questions? It's not like the Klavo effect is real or has any tie to actual philosophy. It's just made up. Well, all philosophy is made up at some point.
What was made up?
An article from Forbes magazine outlines the power of asking why, saying that when we don't ask why, we make up a story, or we make decisions based on incomplete or incorrect information. This claim can be easily confirmed by using the analogy of the telephone game. When you play the telephone game and you don't fully hear what the person said next to you, you fill in the missing information with your own version of what you thought you heard. Then you pass it on to the next person, and this process goes on and on until it gets to the last person in line and the message is something completely different than what you started with. In the game, it's against the rules to repeat or ask for clarification. Yet this same scenario happens all the time in society, where it's perfectly okay to clarify and ask why. However, instead, someone will see something suspicious happening, tweet about it. That tweet will turn into a trending thread on Reddit, someone will see it and write a blog post about it, then it'll come across the eyes of a reporter, they'll write an article and get it published, then it's on the nightly news, a Netflix original series is made of it, and before you know it, Donald Trump is the 45th president of the United States, and climate change is in the same category as Bigfoot. Bottom line, don't base your decisions on incomplete or incorrect information. Ask why. We all have the world's knowledge at our fingertips and the ability to question. Take advantage of it. Humans as a species have been asking why since the beginning of time. In Hindu mythology, there are many references to different animals that are responsible for supporting the weight of the world on their backs. When asked what the world stood on, one would reply, well, a turtle, of course. A wise friend would follow up with, well, what supports the turtle? They'd reply, well, another turtle, of course. And what lies beneath that? Ah, well, you see, it's turtles all the way down. Not exactly a logical response, but a creative one nonetheless. The message behind this is you can ask questions indefinitely. Questions are infinite. What we lack are answers. But that's where the fun begins.
This is where the fun begins.
If you've enjoyed this philosophy on addressing issues in your life, then share it with a friend. If you want to give me a quick hit of dopamine, then hit that subscribe button and like this video. Stay curious.